Hello, horror fans, and welcome back to Real Talk Horror Edition. I am your host, Josh Bell, here to guide you on another twisted journey through the depths of horror cinema. If you're here, you're probably one of us, a brave soul with a morbid curiosity for the terrifying, the bizarre, and the grotesque. Our mission? To dissect those heart-pounding moments that make us want to turn away, but keep us glued to the screen, clutching blankets, hiding behind pillows, and questioning if we'll ever look down dark hallways the same way again. So settle in, because tonight we're about to unmask the secrets of what makes horror both horrifying and irresistible. The shocking twists, the lingering dread, and the scares that get under our skin and keep us coming back for more. To our new listeners, welcome to the madness. Real Talk Horror is a podcast that takes you behind the scenes of horror cinema, inviting fans and horror newcomers alike to explore what makes this genre so compelling. Each week, we delve into gruesome details and artistry of horror films. From dissecting plot twists and character transformations to analyzing the cinematography, lighting, and haunting soundscapes that heighten our fear. With each episode, we spotlight those brilliant and sometimes questionable creative choices that make horror so uniquely unsettling and exciting. Whether you're here to explore the craft of horror filmmaking or just looking for a good scare, this is your backstage pass to the world of horror. Tonight's episode takes on the sinister, pun intended, elements that make a horror movie truly terrifying, examining the narratives that haunt our dreams, visuals that etch themselves into our memories, and soundtracks that send chills down our spines. Today, we're diving into a film that epitomizes the psychological thriller horror hybrid, blurring the lines between reality and nightmare. Brace yourselves as we venture into Sinister, a movie packed with cursed tapes, malevolent entities, and disturbing imagery that lingers long after the credits roll. Alright, so tonight we're venturing into Sinister, a chilling horror gem from 2012, directed by Scott Derrickson, who is known for his skillful blend of supernatural dread and psychological tension. Sinister hooks viewers from the first frame, plunging them into an atmosphere that's not just frightening in its immediate scares, but in the lingering, slow burn terror that builds with each unsettling moment. In Sinister, we follow the unraveling journey of a true crime writer, Ellison Oswalt, portrayed with haunting intensity by Ethan Hawke. Craving a bestseller, Ellison moves his family into a home with a horrifying past, a detail he conveniently withholds from his wife and children. This isn't just any house, though. It's the site of a brutal, unsolved family murder. In the attic, Ellison discovers an unmarked box containing a collection of old Super 8 home movies. But these aren't ordinary family films. They are gruesome recordings of families being murdered, each case seeming to be connected by the shadowy presence of a sinister figure lurking in the background. As Ellison watches each film, he becomes increasingly obsessed, drawn into a terrifying mystery that blurs the line between reality and nightmare. What starts as a quest for truth quickly becomes a descent into madness, with each tape pulling him and his family deeper into the grip of an ancient, malevolent force. Sinister forces us to confront a terrifying question. What's scarier? The horror that we see, or the horror that lurks just beyond our sight? So let's break down the plot and storytelling with some strengths and weaknesses. Sinister masterfully builds suspense through a narrative structure that is simple yet gripping, pulling us into a web of intrigue and dread that intensifies with every new revelation. The film's pacing is methodical and deliberate, crafting a sense of impending doom that makes each moment feel tense and uncertain. From the moment Ellison discovers the tapes, The mystery and horror intensify, and each horrifying home movie adds another layer of fear, heightening the stakes with a brutal and haunting imagery. One of Sinister's greatest strengths lies in its slow burn approach, allowing Derrickson to explore Ellison's psychological descent as he dives deeper into the horror surrounding him. The measured pacing keeps us on edge, never quite sure when the next scare will land, creating this nearly constant state of tension throughout. The film sacrifices some character depth in favor of the suspense, prioritizing the horror and mystery elements over deeper exploration of Ellison's family dynamics. But this focus ultimately strengthens the sense of isolation and obsession that define Ellison's unraveling mind. So what sets it apart? Well, Sinister distinguishes itself within the horror genre through its inventive combination of supernatural horror with found footage elements, crafting this unique but disturbing viewing experience. Instead of relying solely on jump scares, Sinister taps into this primal sense of dread. It focuses on this eerie, voyeuristic quality of watching disturbing, unexplained events captured on film. The Super 8 tapes that Ellison uncovers are chillingly unsettling because they resemble ordinary home videos, but it becomes clear that they document heinous murders. The film's premise, the uncovering of an ancient evil lurking within the safe confines of a suburban home, touches on this deeply unsettling concept that horror can exist anywhere. Even in the most familiar and seemingly secure places, the found footage elements add a disturbing realism, giving the audience the sense that they're witnessing something illicit and unspeakable. This innovative approach, by grounding the supernatural within the everyday, transforms benign family relics into sinister artifacts, and they set Sinister apart from typical horror films. Derrickson's focus on these haunting recordings, they infuse the movie with nightmarish qualities that really linger and evoke a sense of dread that goes beyond traditional horror tropes. By blending the character of Ellison's psychological unraveling with some supernatural horror and that found footage elements, Sinister manages to stand out as a horror film that is both spine-chilling but also thought-provoking, leaving us with a sense of this lingering unease that remains long after the final frame. So let's break down the characters and the acting. Starting with the main cast performance, we have Ethan Hawke's portrayal of Ellison Oswalt. It's nothing short of captivating. Hawke embodies the character's inner conflict as a man torn between his hunger for a career-defining story and the moral lines he's willing to cross to achieve it. His performance is nuanced, showing Ellison's descent from a man confident in his ambitions to one paralyzed by the shadows he's chosen to pursue. Hawke masterfully captures the emotional toll of obsession, illustrating Ellison's mix of stubborn pride, creeping paranoia, and denial. As Ellison's fixation deepens, Hawke reveals layers of vulnerability, fear, and self-deception that evoke empathy, even as Ellison's choices lead him and his family into this terrifying danger. His work elevates Sinister beyond a typical horror film, making Ellison's emotional unraveling as chilling as the supernatural horrors he's investigating. Juliet Rylance delivers a compelling performance as Tracy, Ellison's wife. Her portrayal of Tracy brings authenticity and emotional grounding to the film, reminding us of the real, human consequences of what Ellison's escalating obsession is bringing. As Tracy, Rylance balances warmth and frustration, embodying a mother's protectiveness and a wife's growing alarm as her husband's behavior becomes more erratic. She doesn't just serve as a backdrop to Ellison's story, but as an anchor to reality, emphasizing the stakes for their family as they're drawn into Ellison's nightmare. And the chemistry between Hawke and Rylance make the relationship feel genuine and real, painting a nuanced picture of a marriage buckling under the weight of fear, ambition, and secrecy. But how about the character development? Ellison's character arc, being central to Sinister, guides us from his initial excitement over a new story to full psychological breakdown of a man overpowered by forces he can't control. Initially, Ellison approaches the horrific Super 8 tapes as material for his next bestseller, viewing the project as an opportunity for a comeback. Yet, as he uncovers more gruesome details, his confidence erodes, replaced by dread and an unraveling sanity. And Hawke's portrayal makes this transformation palpable, capturing the way Ellison's rationality is chipped away by fear and obsession. This arc serves as a haunting exploration of how unchecked ambition can push a person past the point of no return, consuming not only their sense of self, but the lives of those around them. While Ellison's journey remains the focal point, the supporting characters add vital layers to deepen the film's impact. Tracy's mounting frustration and fear mirror the strain Ellison's obsession places on their family. Their children, though peripheral to the main plot, subtly show signs of distress and trauma, heightening this sense of impending disaster. This nuanced portrayal of a family disintegrating under the pressure of someone's obsession makes the horror feel even more grounded and give it a sense of heartbreak. The development of these characters creates a disturbing, multidimensional picture of ambition, fear, and denial, showing how even a strong family can be torn apart when one member becomes consumed by darkness. Let's take a look at some of the themes and symbolisms in Sinister. At its core, Sinister is a cautionary tale about the perils of ambition and the consuming nature of obsession. Ellison's character embodies this theme as he becomes so fixated on success that he sacrifices his family's safety. Driven only by a desire to write a bestseller, he ignores the warnings and red flags, showcasing the lengths people will go to achieve recognition and success. The film examines how ambition, when unchecked, can lead to self-destruction, blinding individuals to the cost of their actions on themselves and on their loved ones. This theme speaks to a universal fear around ambition, reflecting on the often overlooked consequences of sacrificing relationships and well-being in the pursuit of personal glory. The film also delves into the disturbing theme of home invasion on both a physical and psychological level. Bughuul's presence infiltrates not only the physical space of the Oswalts, in their home, but their peace of mind, creating a chilling sense of vulnerability. Sinister really taps into the primal fear that our homes, meant to be sanctuaries, can become places of terror. This layered fear is intensified by the supernatural intrusion, suggesting that no place is truly safe once evil has set its sights on you. And the Super 8 tapes in Sinister are laden with symbolic weight, representing both forbidden knowledge and the seductive lure of uncovering the unknown. Each tape reveals brutal crimes that pique Ellison's morbid curiosity, but ultimately trap him in a web of terror. These relics of past violence symbolize the darkness that lies hidden in history, events that should perhaps remain concealed. They also serve as a metaphor for the dangers of curiosity. Ellison's fixation on these tapes drag him deeper into the nightmare that cannot be escaped, illustrating how some knowledge is best left undisturbed. Bughuul, as the film's central antagonist, transcends the typical role of horror villain. Known as the Eater of Children, Bughuul is not just a supernatural presence, but a symbol of ancient evil that corrupts innocence. His influence preys on the most vulnerable, drawing the children into his dark legacy and perpetuating a cycle of violence. Bughuul's presence touches on the horror of the legacy and the way evil can spread across generations, suggesting that some horrors, once unleashed, are impossible to contain. In this way, Bughuul embodies a terror that is both ancient and relentless, a malevolent force that corrupts all who dare to confront it, symbolizing how certain evil persists, resisting attempts to be understood or even be defeated. Let's dive into the cinematography and the visuals. Sinister crafts a dark, haunting visual landscape that's as terrifying as it is immersive. The film's reliance on shadow-heavy, low-lit scenes turns the Oswalt house into a space where darkness is not only a backdrop, but an entity with its own menacing presence. The shadows seem to breathe, closing in on the characters as they grapple with fear and uncertainty. This visual style mirrors Ellison's psychological unraveling, transforming what should be a sanctuary into an oppressive, haunted prison. Director Derrickson uses this visual claustrophobia to amplify the horror, manipulating light and shadow to keep us constantly on edge, peering into murky spaces where terror may or may not be waiting to strike. Derrickson's use of lighting is deliberate and calculated, often keeping crucial parts of the scene in near total darkness, intensifying the unease. Light becomes unreliable, flickering or fading away as if consumed by the house's foreboding aura. This approach doesn't just show us Ellison's terror, it makes us feel it, plunging us into that same creeping paranoia that drives him. The sense of dread is masterfully sustained by Sinister's chilling cinematography, making every shadow and creak in the house seem like a potential threat. And then the Super 8 home movies in particular are an unsettling visual triumph. The grainy, faded texture of the footage provides an unnerving, voyeuristic quality, evoking a sense of raw nostalgia. With their washed-out colors and silent, slow-motion sequences, these films look like relics of a twisted, lost history. The analog quality contrasts sharply with the crispness of the rest of the film, heightening the sense that the Oswalt story is spiraling into something nightmarishly inescapable. This jarring contrast pulls viewers into the world where time is distorted, creating a bridge between the past and Ellison's current plight. These interludes elevate the horror. They present moments of unfiltered violence with a disquieting calmness that feels more realistic and disturbing than explicit gore. The Super 8 home movies stand as some of the film's most harrowing visuals, capturing the final moments of doomed families in chilling voyeuristic detail. The simplicity of these clips, families sitting together, unaware of their imminent fate, is profoundly unsettling, with each scene unfolding in eerie, soundless stillness. The lack of dialogue or score only amplifies the horror, allowing the images to linger in our minds like ghostly memories. These unembellished scenes are eerily intimate, presenting death as a silent observer, watching from just outside the frame. Bughuul's occasional appearances in these clips add to that unease. He appears like a ghostly voyeur, lurking in the shadows or observing from hidden corners, transforming these family films into cursed relics that carry his malevolent energy. Derrickson's strategic use of Bughuul, only barely visible in some scenes, suggests that true horror isn't always obvious, but can be hiding in plain sight, waiting to emerge. This subtlety magnifies the horror, leaving us to wonder what unseen menace might be lurking just beyond our sight. Now for the sound and music. Sinister's sound design is expertly crafted, using every creak, scratch, and whisper to create a sense of tension that is almost unbearable. The crackling, distorted audio of the Super 8 tapes feels disturbingly authentic, as though it's seeping out of an ancient projector, drawing us closer to each horrifying scene. These sounds, with their scratchy analog quality, bring us closer to the terror, making us feel like we're hearing some forbidden noise. The ambient sounds around the Ellison's house are equally chilling. Footsteps echo through empty rooms, whispers drift through hallways, and doors seem to creak open of their own accord. Together, these elements build an atmosphere of dread, suggesting that something sinister is lurking just out of sight, watching and waiting. The film also uses silence quite effectively, often stretching quiet moments to create a nerve-wracking sense of anticipation. These pauses are punctuated by sudden, jarring noises that make the viewer jump, amplifying the horror by tapping into primal fear of the unknown. This expert manipulation of sound is essential in building Sinister's creeping dread, making the film's horror not just visual, but auditory and almost tactile. You can almost feel it. And Christopher Young's score is almost as unsettling as the visuals, blending the haunting melodies with discordant sounds that echo the pervasive evil within the story. Rather than relying on overtly loud or intense cues, Young's soundtrack is subtle and insidious, almost slithering through the scenes like an unseen force. The atonal ambient music underscores the story's theme of a creeping, inevitable horror, with unsettling sounds that seem to emanate from within the house itself. The effect is it's immersive. It traps us alongside Ellison in a soundscape of dread and despair. And one of the soundtrack's most powerful techniques is its gradual crescendo, starting as a faint murmur and growing louder and more invasive as Ellison's investigation progresses. This escalation matches the unraveling psyche of Ellison, pulling us deeper into his paranoia and terror. And by the film's climax, the music becomes relentless, mirroring the inescapable horror closing in on Ellison and his family. The masterful use of sound leaves a lasting impact, resonating with us after the final scenes and reinforcing Sinister's atmosphere of unshakable dread. How about the pacing and editing? Well, Sinister unfolds with an intentional, methodical pace that serves to tighten the psychological noose around both Ellison and ourselves in the audience. Rather than bombarding us with constant action or scare tactics, the film adopts a slow burn approach, allowing each element of horror to breathe and settle. The pacing is crucial. As Ellison uncovers each disturbing tape, the tension escalates gradually, allowing dread to grow like an insidious presence in the background. Each new revelation feels more chilling than the last, layering a growing sense of horror that mirrors Ellison's own spiraling obsession. The gradual pacing serves not only to build suspense, but to mimic the protagonist's descent into darkness, making us feel as if we're sinking alongside him, unable to escape the dreadful mysteries lurking within this new home. By delaying the full force of its scares, Sinister draws us into a lull, creating a false sense of security before thrusting us into scenes that are brutally unnerving. The slow build allows for a steady, oppressive tension that lingers, making the climactic moments feel unavoidable, yet intensely shocking. Derrickson's careful pacing amplifies the film's immersive quality, creating a tension that feels like a creeping shadow, always present, but never fully realized until it's far too late. And the editing in Sinister is meticulously crafted, heightening both the tension and horror through precise cuts and transitions that keep the viewer, or keep us, psychologically tethered to Ellison's unraveling. The seamless back and forth between Ellison's investigation and the Super 8 footage is jarring, ensuring that we are never allowed to feel comfortable. Each cut to the cursed tapes thrusts us back into the raw, unnerving world of each murder, giving us brief, haunting glimpses that keep us as disoriented as Ellison. This approach creates a sense of helpless immersion. The audience is dragged back into the horrors repeatedly, unable to avert our eyes, just as Ellison becomes more entrapped by the sinister force. Then there's the strategic jump cuts and tight framing that are used to convey a claustrophobic atmosphere, especially during the scenes where Ellison is wandering through the darkened house alone. These editing techniques trap us in tight, confined spaces, making the darkness feel tangible and the silence almost unbearable. By expertly blending real-time sequences with the cursed home movies, the editing ensures a unified narrative flow that maximizes horror and makes us feel trapped within the mystery with no escape from the dread that is unfolding. Now for the scare factor and gore. Sinister excels in delivering a harrowing experience that digs into our minds, bypassing cheap jump scares in favor of an enduring sense of psychological dread. The horror is steadily amplified with each of Ellison's discoveries as the audience is pulled deeper into the horrifying mystery of the cursed tapes and the sinister presence of Bughuul. Each tape, with its macabre portrayal of family murders, carries a haunting quality that resonates long after it's shown. Rather than relying on graphic violence, Sinister taps into our primal fear of the unknown, with the horror rising from what is implied, barely glimpsed, or simply suggested through eerie sounds and unsettling visuals. This approach allows the fear to linger, creating an atmosphere of paranoia that infects both Ellison's world and our experience in the audience. The film's psychological horror is particularly potent, with Bughuul's malevolent influence felt even when he's off screen. He becomes a constant, unshakable presence, felt in every shadow and creak, magnifying Ellison's deteriorating sanity. This builds an oppressive sense of terror that gnaws at the edges of the viewer's mind, leaving us haunted by the sensation that something might be lurking in our own darkened rooms. By focusing on Ellison's mounting desperation and paranoia, Sinister delivers a horror that digs deep, remaining with us long after the end. One of Sinister's greatest strengths, though, is in its restraint, crafting a chilling atmosphere without succumbing to excessive gore. Instead, the film strikes a delicate balance between psychological horror and suggestive atmospheric terror. Bughuul's presence is understated yet omnipresent, representing an invisible yet inescapable evil that seems to corrupt from within. The cursed home movies, shot on grainy Super 8 film, capture brutal scenes of family murders without indulging in graphic detail. The footage's analog quality blurs the line between reality and nightmare, making the horror feel unsettlingly real, as if we're watching evidence from a true crime case that was never meant to be seen. By embracing an atmospheric approach, Sinister makes our imaginations do all the work, allowing each scare to hit harder, tapping into a universal fears of helplessness, the corruption of the familiar, and the dread of what lies just beyond sight, crafting a horror experience that remains effective without gratuitous bloodshed. Bughuul's restrained appearances, lurking just at the edge of vision, make him a terrifying figure, not for what he shows, but for what he implies. A malevolent force that hides in plain sight, waiting to strike. This subtle approach to horror creates a feeling of perpetual unease, proving that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones that we're only allowed to glimpse. Sinister is a masterfully crafted descent into fear that explores the sinister pull of its obsession, the danger of curiosity, and the relentless reach of supernatural evil. With its powerful combination of psychological horror and eerie supernatural elements, this film stands out as a haunting and memorable entry in the genre. Sinister is not for those seeking fast-paced thrills. Rather, it appeals to viewers who appreciate atmospheric tension and a slow burn approach to horror. The film resonates beyond its scares, presenting a chilling exploration of the darkness within us all and the costs we pay when we look too closely. From the bone-chilling Super 8 tapes to the unnerving villain, Sinister expertly blurs the lines between mystery and madness, making for a deeply unsettling experience. For its originality, relentless tension, and ability to haunt even the most seasoned horror fans, I'd give Sinister a solid 8 out of 10. So if you're a horror fan who appreciates a buildup of dread over shock value scares, Sinister is a must-watch. This film leaves an impression that lingers beyond its runtime, with visuals and sounds that are almost guaranteed to haunt you. Consider yourself warned, the disturbing images from those Super 8 tapes may find their way back into your mind long after the screen goes dark. Watching Sinister alone at night? Proceed with caution. Now it's your turn, horror fans. Did Sinister send chills down your spine? Or did you find Bughuul and the Cursed tapes too disturbing to handle? Maybe the slow burn tension left you sleeping with the lights on. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the movie, whether it's Bughuul, the tapes, or any other haunting detail that stuck with you. Reach out to us on social media or shoot us an email. You can find us on Threads and Instagram at RealRealTalk, or you can email us at therealrealtalk@gmail.com. Maybe your feedback will even get featured in a future episode. And don't miss next episode as we rewind to a horror classic, The Changeling, starring George C. Scott. This atmospheric ghost story offers a distinctive take on hauntings, and we can't wait to dive into its eerie legacy with you. It's one of those films that reminds us why we're drawn to the supernatural in the first place. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, write a review of Real Talk Horror Edition on your favorite podcast platform, and stay connected with us again, Instagram and Threads at Real Talk, or send us an email at therealrealtalk@gmail.com. Your thoughts, reviews, and recommendation keep us inspired to bring you more chilling discussions. So until next time, stay creepy and keep those lights on, horror fans.